WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from That Boutique Whiskey Company. Okay, it says That Boutique Rye Company. And this is batch 1 of Empire Rye. It is a blended Empire Rye, aged 2 years old. And this is bottle number 7 of the 685 bottles that we have here. 50% ABV, very, very good, 0.5 liters, typical That Boutique Whiskey Company, and for about 50 euros, which is actually not a bad price here. All right, Whiskybase number 171001. All right, so let's first of all go over to the elephant in the room, Empire Rye. What is it? As most of us know, we've watched some films from Hollywood or whatever. Every New York license plate still says the Empire State. So Empire Rye is whiskey from New York State. So we have originally the standards that they found here. So let's go to the history first. The history of Empire Rye. So basically in 2015, 6 of the leading New York State distillers banded together to create a consortium dedicated to establishing a whiskey style for the Empire State. This whiskey was to be as distinctive, preciously crafted, and held to a high standard as any of the other whiskey styles of the world. So Empire Rye was basically born, all right? So Empire Rye was born an homage to the New York State's pre-prohibition rye whiskey making heritage and a testament to the ingenuity and industrialness of its contemporary distillers. Each distiller's bottling of Empire Rye is crafted in accordance with the same exact specifications, and yet each is given ample space, wow, marketing, to express their creativity. In time, the hope is that more New York distillers will choose to produce a rye whiskey in accordance with these standards and make the category of Empire Rye known throughout the world. All right, so the founding Empire Rye companies were basically here Black Button Distillery from Rochester, New York. Never heard of them. Never saw a bottle of them. The Cooper C Distilling up in New Paltz, a very German name. Haven't seen a bottle of that either. Then we have the Finger Lake Distillings in Seneca Lake. I've actually been to Seneca Lake. I did not know that there was a distilling company up there. Well, I was there 35 years ago, so probably not. I've only heard great things. I know that the guys from United Bourbon Pursuit and Pursuit United just love the Finger Lakes distilling juice, and I think also then Barrel uses them a lot. Then we have Kings County Distilling from Brooklyn. I've seen some bottles over here in Germany. I've seen some casks made it over here as well, but they were very, very small, flat type of flask things and very expensive. We'll have to see if they can make their way over to Germany as well. New York Distilling in Brooklyn. Sorry, can't say I've heard of you, or I haven't tried you, or I forgot you. I'm sorry. And then we have the Tut Hill Town Spirits in Gardiner, which is basically here our Hudson whiskey. They were bought out by Campari, I think. At least Campari were the people that distributed them over here in Germany at least 2019. All right, and then the first one that actually adopted also to this is now the Van Brunt Stillhouse in Brooklyn. I've tried some of those because I had some friends that went over to Brooklyn, brought back bottles. All right, very, very, very good. So what do we have here? We have the following rules here for the Standard of Identity Empire Rye. So Empire Rye must conform to the New York Farm Distillers Class D requirements. I have no idea what that means. That requires that 75% of the mash bill must be New York grain, and in this instance, it must be 75% New York State-grown rye grain, which may be the raw, the green, or the malted, or a combination of both. The other 25% of the mash bill may be a composition of any raw or malted grain that was grown in New York. All right, very, very good. So it's 100% New York grown grain and 75% minimum of rye. So it's not this straight rye recommendation or the regulation, in the U.S., which says 51%. Nope, it's 75%, which I like. It may be distilled to no more than 160 proof. Okay, very good, 80%. and aged for a minimum of 2 years in charred New York barrels at not more than 115 proof at the entry proof level. I thought that was interesting because it's actually 62.5 for anything else in America, and here it's 57.5%. Interesting. Must be mashed, fermented, distilled, barreled, and aged at a single New York State distillery. This was not. This is a blend of 9. Therefore, there's a last category here. A blended whiskey containing no less than 100% qualified Empire Rye. Whiskeys from multiple distilleries may be called blended Empire Rye. Ta-da! I think that's kind of unique and kind of cool what they're doing there. I like that. All right, what am I going to compare it to? I just did a video about the Peerless, so I decided to take the Peerless versus the Empire. This was 79 euros. This is 49 euros, so 30 euros more, much more. This is this was diluted down here to 49.1%. This was diluted down to 50%. All right. Why do I say diluted down? They added water. This is not cask strength. Nowhere does it say it. Nowhere does it mention barrel proof here. It's just 50%, which is okay. Now, if you look at the colors here, we have 3 years here, we have 2 years here, and I must admit that the Empire Rye is a hue darker, in my opinion. Just a hue. On the nose, I get a lot of the vegetal rye moment here. It's not a typical MGP rye. It's a little bit of a honeyed rye moment. So imagine you had some type of rye bread. Don't know if you've ever had rye bread before, and you put a lot of honey on it. All right, that's what I'm getting here. Over here, I get a much more of a vegetal moment. Imagine that rye bread with green peppers on it. So green peppers, and here I have the honey. Those are the two differentiating points here. Kentucky, New York. Where does the grain come from? We don't know. They don't talk about mash bills at all at Peerless. At least I can't find anything online. Here, 75% minimum of rye grown in New York, and the other 25% also grown in New York. All of this was distilled, manufactured, aged, barreled, and so on in New York State, and this was all done in Kentucky. I have no idea if the grain came from Kentucky. Don't really think so. All right, let's try them. Cheers. The 50% are just fine. That with the green pepper I get here as well. Imagine rye bread, green peppers with honey smeared all over them. Yeah, I'm not really sure about the taste. I really like, I have to differentiate, I really like the finish. Got a good finish. Comes in, it's like, whoa, funky, weird. Oh, nice. Now, this is actually a blend of 9 different distilleries. At the moment, there are a total of 10 different distilleries that are part of the Empire Rye Distillers Consortium. We talked about the Black Button, we talked about Copper Sea, we talked about Finger Lakes. We did not talk about Honeoye Falls. I have no idea if I butchered that or not. They have something called the Red Sauce Straight Rye Whiskey. Never heard of that. We talked about Kings County, New York Distilling, Tuthill Town, Van Brunt we talked about, and we did not talk about the Stoutridge Distillery. They have something called Rye Empire. And there's something called Yankee Distilleries that has nothing out on the market yet. So I guess it's a blend of those 9 that actually have stuff out there. Very interesting. So if I go back here to my nice little, I think a little bit, all right? So I have 685 divided by 2 would be 349 liters divided by 9. It means basically each and every distillery gave on average 38 liters. And if I divide that here by 3.8, oh, looky there. It gets a number that we know of. 3.8 would be basically 10 gallons. So all 9 different distilleries basically gave maybe 9 gallons here. All right, so that's very, very interesting there. So who knows what's going to happen in the future here with Empire Rye. I hope this concept catches on. I do know that, like I think I mentioned, Missouri has a new regulation for Missouri whiskey. It has to actually be aged in wood for Missouri. and I don't know any Missouri's distillers. Sorry, forgive me. All right, so I'm going to add a tiny little bit of water to this. Go over here real quick to the Fearless. That's a little funkier. It's more vegetal. It just is really not doing it for me. I would give this a C to a C plus in my evaluation here of this. As I said, there's a little bit of a disturbance in the forest in the middle, but towards the end, they just all combine and go in one direction, which I really like. This is a little weirder. All right. Empire Rye, one last time with water. 50 euros, 79 euros. 2 years, 3 years old. Blended from 9 different distilleries. They're from New York State. Can we say single? We can just say straight rye from one distillery. With a little bit of water, it gets actually better. That rye bread honey moment comes through. I do like the finish. All right, so I'm going to give this a C to C plus and a C minus for the price. I still cannot say, hey, it's a 0.5 liter bottle, 50 euros, go buy it. This is one of the things where I would say this is interesting. If you're really, really interested in what's happening in the States at the moment, go buy it. All right, so my question of the day is from all the new different rye. Oh, let's go just for Empire Rye. Which of the 9 distilleries have you tried from Empire Rye? So Black Button, Copper Sea, Finger Lakes, Honeo, Kings County, New York Distilling, Tut Hill Town, Van Brunt, Yankee, or Stout Ridge. I've actually had Van Brunt, I've had Tut Hill Town, I've had Kings, I've had, that's it. So I've had 3 of the 9 that actually here are producing at the moment. I've had. Which Empire Rye have you had and can you recommend? All right, WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. That boutique whiskey company often have very limited releases of their bottles, and I don't even think 0.5 would be allowed in the States. I don't think you've ever seen these, have you? Sorry. Thank you very much for liking, subscribing, telling others, and sharing if you'd be so kind. All the best. See you soon. Bye-bye.